I hope we've done that. I wasn't really sure how many people to expect, whether it be, some communities have had a large turnout, I guess maybe to say because they've been to a town meeting in a pandemic. Others haven't. We have a quorum, that's all that matters. There will be some things different about tonight. First, thanks to what I believe was a very smart decision by the Select Board, our warrant is limited to only those articles that absolutely need to be addressed. Everything else has been pushed to the fall. Second, I've eliminated most of the routine preliminaries they start off with each town meeting. I'm sure most of you will be thankful for that. My goal this evening is to complete our business as quickly as possible, though I will not be limiting discussion as a means to that end. Third, we've done our best with seating to promote social distancing, and I'd ask that you respect the placement of the chairs. Also, masks were required for entrance to the gym, and properly worn masks will be required the entire time you're in the gym. The sole exception is that you may remove your mask like I've done when speaking at a microphone. They'll be disinfected after each speaker. Also, please don't touch the microphones or stands. There will be ushers there to make any needed adjustments. Fourth, when we complete our business this evening, I'm going to ask everyone to remain in their seats so I may direct an orderly and socially distant exit from the gym. And with this massive crowd, that could take a while. While I've eliminated most of my typical introductory comments, I do want to remind everyone that all of our normal rules still apply. That town meeting is not the public comment section of a select board meeting or a school committee meeting, nor is it a public forum or a public hearing. And the town meeting can only take action within the scope of an article on the posted warrant. Similarly, any discussion is also limited to the scope of the articles on the posted warrant. The moderator's motions are listed in your handbook on page 4. They are the same standard motions that we approve each town meeting, so I'll ask to address them as a group. Do I have a motion to approve moderator's motions 1, 2, 3, and 4 as printed in the handbook? No discussion. All in favor, please raise your cards to vote. Thank you. And opposed? Those pass. On to our business for this evening. Article 1, transfer from General Stabilization Fund sponsored by the town manager. To see if the town will vote to transfer available funds from the General Stabilization Fund to support the FY21 General Fund Budget or pass any vote or take any action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends the town vote to transfer $1.4 million, approximately 20% of General Fund Stabilization Fund balance at March 31st, 2020, from the General Stabilization Fund to defray charges and expenses of the town, including debt and interest, for the ensuing fiscal year as set forth in the FY21 General Fund Budget. Mr. Herbert.
Good evening, and thank you all. So Article 1 is the first type of article since my tenure started here about 7 years ago. And it's a transfer from the Stabilization Fund and not a transfer to. Just so you know, when we get to the budget, we were anticipating a $2.4 million deficit compared to what we were originally anticipating at the beginning of the year. In order to address that deficit, we decided to withdraw $1.4 million from our Stabilization Fund and make $1 million in reductions in the school and municipal department budgets. I do think the $1.4 million represents about 20% of what the balance is in the Stabilization Fund right now. I do think this is a prudent use of this money, and I do think it's a prudent amount as well. But I think it's something that we're going to need to keep our eye on in the future years. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Herbert. To allow discussion, I'll entertain a motion. I'll be seeking a motion that the town approve to transfer $1.4 million from the General Stabilization Fund to defray charges and expenses of the town, including debt and interest, for the ensuing fiscal year as set forth in the FY21 General Fund Budget. Do I have such a motion? Is there a second? Discussion. Any discussion? Microphones. If you have discussion, or are you seconding or have a question? Okay. Seeing no discussion, this will require a 2/3 majority to transfer from the Stabilization Fund. All those in favor of the motion on Article 2, please raise your cards. Thank you very much. And opposed? That passes unanimously. Article 2, Fiscal Year 2021 Budget. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate from available funds and or transfer from available funds in the Treasury such sums of money as are necessary to defray charges and expenses of the town, including debt and interest, for the ensuing fiscal year, or pass any vote or take any action relative thereto. As is our custom, we will now hear the Finance Committee's report from John Moore, Vice Chair of the Finance Committee. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Adam. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jonathan Moore, and I am the Vice Chairman of the Ashland Finance Committee. Our committee consists of our chairperson, Mr. Scott Warnetsky, our secretary, Jennifer Cooney, and committee members Ashwini Salvi, Brian Turncliffe, Jack Walsh, and Edward Hart. The Finance Committee considers all articles and warrants for all town meetings and referendums. The committee deliberates and provides a report in writing as to the recommendation for each article, and the committee meets annually with heads of individual town departments to review operating budgets on behalf of the citizens of Ashland. The current pandemic is creating unique challenges to the financial future of Ashland. As a result of proactive decision-making and proper management of town resources, we are in a far stronger position compared to the 2007 to 2009 financial crisis. The Town of Ashland and Finance Committee is committed to responsible stewardship of town financial resources. A key component of the town's financial position is its Stabilization Fund. A Stabilization Fund is a mechanism for setting aside money either for unforeseen needs or for capital projects, according to the Massachusetts Division of Local Services. Such a fund is intended to equalize the effect of capital expenditures over time and to provide a rainy day fund. 13 years ago, Ashland's Stabilization Fund was virtually non-existent. We are pleased to note that Ashland Stabilization Fund now contains what could represent several years' worth of resources from which to draw, so that town services are as insulated as possible from near-term fiscal shortfalls caused by the ongoing national emergency. Earlier in June, Ashland received an affirmation and continued recognition from Standard & Poor's rating agency of a AAA-rated, stable outlook bond rating. This is the highest credit given to municipalities. Among some of the highlights from the report was S&P's recognition of Ashland's financial health. Quote, Ashland enters the national recession triggered by the outbreak of COVID-19 with very strong budgetary reserves and flexibility and well-embedded financial management policies, particularly in the areas of budgeting and planning, close quote. Most notably, S&P praised the town's financial management, rating the administration, quote, very strong, which is the top category available. S&P also highlighted the town's adequate budgetary performance, very strong budgetary flexibility, very strong liquidity, strong institutional framework, and strong debt and contingent liability profile. Additionally, S&P highlighted the significant pension and benefits liability, but expressed confidence that the town would manage this liability on its record of solid financial planning and budgeting. Even with the Ashland Stabilization Fund's use and closing budget deficits, it is not a bottomless resource from which we can rely upon indefinitely. We acknowledge that there could be pressure on departmental budgets over time, but no immediate austerity. While the fund is strong enough to help us bridge the gaps for the next 2 to 3 years, should the current crisis persist, spending increases that departments have become accustomed to may become challenging to support in the intermediate term. The Finance Committee's oversight and function as an advisory board to the town legislature and leadership rests solely in the duty of care and best interest of the citizens of the town of Ashland. The Finance Committee endeavors to sponsor policies that will support Ashland in achieving a smooth financial landing upon the culmination of the current crisis. In doing so, it is our sincere hope that the challenges created by the pandemic will eventually abate, thus reducing the risk of structural changes to operating budgets and support the continued prosperity of the Ashland as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John, and thanks to the entire Finance Committee for their work. Voting on the budget is a two-step process. First, we will review and vote on the appropriation for each of the various accounts. After action has been taken on all the accounts, we will vote on the overall budget motion. Excuse me. I will start by reading the numbers and names of a series of accounts. If you have a question or comment on an account, yell out, "Hold." After voting on all unchallenged line items, we will go back and discuss any that were held. Account 1123, Town Manager. Account 1138, Central Purchasing. Account 1139, Telecommunications. Account 1151, Town Council. Account 1155, Data Processing. Account 1161, Town Clerk. Account 1162, Elections Town Meeting. Account 1163, Board of Registrars. Account 1180, Human Resources. All those in favor of the unchallenged items, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? Account 1135, Town Accountant. Account 1141, Assessor's Office. Account 1145, Treasurer. All those in favor of the unchallenged items, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? Account 1171, Conservation Commission. Account 1172, Open Space Committee. Account 1175, Planning Board. Account 1241, Inspectional Services Department. All those in favor of the unchallenged items, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? Account 1210, Police Department. Account 1220, Fire Department. All those in favor of the unchallenged items, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? Passes but not unanimously. Account 1510, Health Department. Account 1543, Veteran Services. Account 1544, Human Services. Account 1610, Public Library. All those in favor of the unchallenged items, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? Account 1192, Public Buildings and Property Maintenance. Account 1421, DPW Administration. Account 1422, Highway. Account 1423, Snow and Ice Removal. Was that on snow and ice? Was the hold on snow and ice? Thank you. Account 1424, Highway Street Lighting. Account 1429, Highway Combined Fuel. Account 1491, Cemetery Parks and Trees. All those in favor of the unchallenged items, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? Okay, there was a hold on snow and ice. Is there a question on snow and ice? No, you can't, because we can't hear you and they can't hear you at home. I contemplated going without microphones tonight, but the folks at home can't hear anything that's not said in the microphone. So please state your name and address.
Yeah,
and your
Aaron Ladd, 153 Pleasant Street. So a budget of 285 with last year's expenses of 568. Why are we budgeting 300,000 less than we spent in the past year?
Okay, thank you. Brittany, Michael, who wants that? Brittany. Finance Director, Brittany Acapone.
So if we spend a given amount of money in a certain fiscal year, so say last year we spent almost 600,000, we would have to, by law, set FY21 budget at 600,000. So we wouldn't be able to allocate funding to any of the departments. That was a high year for us last year, so we don't normally like to budget too high for snow and ice so that we can allocate funding to other departments.
So for clarification, how do we make up that difference? So where does that money come from then?
So what happens if we overspend in snow and ice?
So we get a transfer from what's called our reserve fund, and Finance Committee approves that.
No, the Finance Committee Reserve Fund.
Yep.
And I'll tell you from my days in the Finance Committee, one thing I remember is it's the only account we're allowed to spend more than we budget. All those in favor of 1423 snow and ice, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? Account 1300 School Department. Account 1399 Keeps Tech Vocational School. All those in favor of the unchallenged items, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? Account 1710, Debt. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? A quick note before we get to the capital projects line. The capital projects listed in the handbook are anticipated to be funded under the account 1930 appropriation. The appropriation we are about to consider is not for the individual items listed, but rather for the account in total. As such, the individual items listed are not subject to amendment. Account 1930, capital projects. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? Account 1911, employee retirement. Account 1912, worker compensation. Account 1913, unemployment compensation. Account 1914, employee health fringes. Account 1950, group health insurance. Account 1945, other insurance. Account 1132, reserve fund. All those in favor of the unchallenged items, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? That finishes the general fund. Now for the enterprise fund. Account 6000, water enterprise. Account 6100, sewer enterprise. Account 6200, trash collection. Account 6300, field management. Account 6400, cable access. Account 6500, stormwater. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? We've approved the individual line items in the budget. Now we need to approve the overall funding mechanism. For that, I'll entertain a motion. A, for the general fund, that the following amounts be transferred from the respective accounts. Recreation revolving, $20,899.36. Sale of cemetery lots, $30,000. Dog licenses, $27,043.74. And that the balance be raised and appropriated, $63,686,167.01. B, for the water enterprise fund, that $3,172,392 be raised through the water rates. C, for the sewer enterprise fund, that $5,765,56 be raised through sewer rates. For the rubbish collection enterprise fund, that $1,374,928 be raised through solid waste rates. For the fields management enterprise fund, $135,461 be raised through fees for field usage. For the cable access enterprise fund, the $200,000 be raised through cable franchise fees. For the stormwater enterprise fund, the $315,642 be raised through the stormwater rates. For the economic development special revenue fund, the $201,388 be appropriated from available meals tax funds. Do I have such a motion? Is there a second? All those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you very much. And opposed? Passes unanimously. And we have a budget. Article 3, transfer to OPEB trust, sponsored by the Select Board. To see if the town will transfer $173,245 from the OPEB contribution account to the OPEB trust, or pass any vote or take any action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends the town so vote. Mr. Herbert.
Can everybody hear me? Okay, it works now. For those of you that are not aware of OPEB, OPEB stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits. It is a fancy way of saying retiree health insurance. And recently, general accounting principles required that municipalities start accounting for and addressing this outstanding liability on its balance sheet. Ashland has an outstanding liability currently of approximately $46 million. Now, I want to clarify that that does not mean that at some point in the future, the town is going to have to write a check for $46 million. I think there's a little bit of a misnomer out there that that's what that means when we talk about a $46 million liability. What we're concerned about is that as the amount for OPEB that we pay each year grows, it starts squeezing out the other parts of the budget, and that's something that we don't want to be in. So several years ago, we started to define a way to address this long-term liability that we have, and we created what's known as an OPEB trust. That was done at town meeting. And an OPEB trust allows us to put funds into that, for lack of a better term, account that we can then utilize to offset our liability in the future. And we have two mechanisms in the way that we fund this trust. So the first is, I think starting in 2015, we started accounting for each new employee's annual required contribution for OPEB on an ongoing basis. So that is factored into the health insurance budget. But then to help catch up from our previous outstanding liability that we had not addressed, each year we also put a portion of free cash that is certified by DOR, and that's essentially the balance in the town's checkbook at the end of the year. We put a portion of that towards the OPEB trust as well. So this article refers to the first prong of that two-prong plan, and we would be transferring $173,000 from the OPEB contribution account, which is part of the health insurance budget, and move that into the trust.
Thank you, Mr. Herbert. To allow discussion, I'll entertain a motion that the town transfer the sum of $173,245 from OPEB contribution account 01915-51709 to the OPEB trust account 88100-49710. Do I have such a motion? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please, this will require a simple majority. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? That passes unanimously. Article 4, Annual Consent Article General, sponsored by the Select Board. To see if the town will vote the following consent articles, which I shall not read in their entirety: grant program authorization, road contracts, contracts in excess of 3 years, lease purchase agreements, revolving funds, grant easements. The Finance Committee recommends the town vote in favor of the consent articles as set forth in Article 4. Given the routine nature of the items contained within consent articles, they are normally voted without a discussion. As such, I will ask for a motion, then we'll move directly to a vote. I entertain a motion that the town approve Article 4 as set forth in the warrant, and further that the town set the maximum amount that may be spent on revolving funds in subsection 5 of Article 4 as indicated in the warrant book. Do I have such a motion? Because this involves easements, this will require a 2/3 majority. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? That passes unanimously. Article 5, Annual Consent Article, Community Preservation Act, sponsored by the Community Preservation Committee. To see if the town will vote the following items: Community Preservation Fund's FY21 annual appropriations. From FY21 estimated revenues to committee administrative expense, $60,572.67. From FY21 estimated revenues to historic reserve, to community housing reserve, and to open space reserve, $115,088.07 each, and from FY21 estimated revenues to undesignated budgeted reserve, $805,616.50. B, community reservation funds, Oak Street bond payment to appropriate $160,775. Community preservation funds, high school athletic fields bond payment to appropriate $327,075. Community Preservation Fund's Warren Woods bond payment to appropriate $161,875, or pass any vote or take any action relative thereto. The Community Preservation Committee recommends the town vote in favor of the Community Preservation Act consent items as set forth in Article 5. The Finance Committee recommends the town vote in favor of the Community Preservation Act consent items as set forth in Article 5. And it's to note that the amounts being appropriated for items B, C, and D, the bond payments in this article, are in each case less than the amounts appropriated for FY20. As with Article 4, due to the routine and recurring nature of this article, I will ask for a motion and then we'll move directly to a vote. Looking for a motion that the town approve the CPC consent article as set forth in Article 5. This will require a simple majority. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. And opposed? That passes unanimously. There being no further business, I will entertain a motion to dissolve. All in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you. I think you guys are smart enough, they're that many, to exit in a socially distant manner. I would appreciate it. Thank you again for being here, and everyone stay